There was a king who signed a law that could kill his own best friend, and he didn't even know he was doing it. That man walked into a trap set by people who hated him for one simple reason. He was too good at his job, too honest, and too loyal to God. What happened next is one of the most powerful stories of faith you will ever hear. And by the end of this video, you're going to look at your own struggles completely differently. This is the story of Daniel and the lion's den, not the cartoon version you heard as a kid. The real one. The one with real stakes, real fear, and a real God who shows up when everything looks over. Let's set the scene. Daniel wasn't just some random guy who got thrown into a pit with lions for no reason. He was one of the most powerful men in the kingdom of Babylon, later Persia, after the empire changed hands. He had been taken from his home as a young man, dragged into a foreign land, forced to serve kings who worshipped different gods, and somehow, through all of that, he rose to the top. Not by cutting corners, not by playing political games. He rose to the top because he was excellent at what he did, and because he refused to compromise who he was. By this point in his life, Daniel is an old man. Some scholars believe he was in his 80s. Think about that for a second. This isn't a young, hot-headed guy trying to prove something. This is someone who had already lived a full life of faith, who had already seen empires rise and fall, who had already proven himself over and over again. And even at that age, King Darius looks at him and decides to put him in charge of the entire kingdom, above everyone else, above all the other officials and leaders. And that's exactly where the problem starts. Because when you're the best, people notice, and not everyone claps for you. Some people get jealous. Some people start looking for a way to take you down. That's exactly what happened to Daniel. The other officials in the kingdom couldn't stand that this foreigner, this old man who prayed to a different god, was about to be placed above all of them. So they did what jealous people have always done throughout history. They started digging. They started watching his every move, waiting for him to slip up, waiting for one mistake, one flaw, anything they could use against him. And here's the part that should hit you hard. They searched and they searched, and they found nothing. No corruption, no dishonesty, no mistakes in his work. The Bible says they could find no fault in him because he was faithful, and no negligence or corruption was found in him. Let that sink in for a second. A group of powerful men who wanted to destroy him combed through his entire life looking for dirt, and there was none. So if you can't find something wrong with a person, what do you do if you're desperate to take them down? You attack the one thing you know they won't give up. The officials knew Daniel prayed to his God 3 times a day, every single day, without fail. So they came up with a plan. They convinced the king to sign a law saying that for 30 days, no one in the kingdom could pray to any god or man except the king himself. Anyone caught breaking this law would be thrown into a den of lions. Think about how sneaky this is. They didn't attack Daniel directly. They attacked his faith. They created a law that made his daily habit of praying to God illegal. And the king, probably flattered by the idea that people wanted to treat him like a god for 30 days, signed it into law without realizing he was signing his most trusted advisor's death sentence. Now here's where the story really becomes something you need to pay attention to. Daniel finds out about this new law. He knows exactly what it means. He knows that if he keeps praying the way he always has, he could be thrown into a pit full of lions. He has a choice in front of him. He could stop praying for 30 days. Just 30 days. He could wait it out, keep his habit private for a little while, and go right back to it once the law expired. Nobody would even know. He could justify it so easily. God knows my heart. I'll pray silently instead. This is just temporary. But that's not what Daniel does. The Bible says that when Daniel learned the document had been signed, he went home, and in his upstairs room with the windows open toward Jerusalem, he got down on his knees 3 times a day, just as he had always done, and prayed and gave thanks to his God. He didn't hide. He didn't change his routine. He didn't compromise. He kept his windows open, in the same spot, at the same times, doing exactly what he had always done. knowing full well that people were watching, waiting for him to slip. This is the part of the story that I want you to really sit with, because this is where the real lesson lives. Daniel wasn't reckless. He wasn't trying to be a hero or make a statement. He simply refused to let fear change who he was. He had built a relationship with God over decades, and he wasn't about to throw that away because some jealous men made a law designed to trap him. How many of us can say the same thing? How many of us change who we are the moment things get a little uncomfortable? The moment our job is on the line, or our friendships are at risk, or people might laugh at us, we shrink back. We hide our values. We stay quiet when we should speak. We stop doing the things that matter most to us because it's easier, because it's safer. Daniel shows us a different way. He shows us that real faith isn't about being loud or dramatic. It's about staying consistent when nobody would blame you for quitting. Of course, the officials were watching exactly like they planned. They caught him praying, just like they knew they would, and they ran straight to the king, reminding him of the law he had signed, a law that couldn't be changed once it was made official under that kingdom's rules. And now we get to see something interesting. The king is not happy about this at all. In fact, the Bible tells us that when King Darius heard this, he was deeply distressed. He liked Daniel. He respected him. He spent the rest of the day trying to find a way to save him. He tried until the sun went down, searching for any loophole, any way out. But the law was the law, and even a king couldn't undo it. So, with a heavy heart, Darius gives the order. Daniel is taken and thrown into the den of lions, and before the stone is placed over the entrance, sealed with the king's own signet ring so that no one could secretly rescue him, the king says something remarkable to Daniel. He says, "May your God, whom you serve continually, rescue you." Think about that. Even the king, who worshipped different gods, who lived in a completely different culture, somehow recognized that Daniel's faith was real. That's what a consistent life of faith does. It doesn't just protect you. It speaks to everyone watching you, even people who don't believe the same things you do. That night, the king couldn't sleep. He refused to eat. He refused any entertainment. He spent the entire night pacing, worried sick about a man he had grown to respect and love. And as soon as the sun came up, he ran, not walked, ran to the den and called out in an anguished voice, asking if Daniel's God had been able to save him from the lions. And then comes the moment this whole story has been building toward. From inside that dark pit, surrounded by hungry lions who could have torn him apart in seconds, Daniel's voice answers back. He says, "My God sent his angel and shut the mouths of the lions. They have not hurt me because I was found innocent in his sight." Picture that scene for a moment. A den full of wild, hungry lions. A 70 or 80-year-old man locked inside with them all night long. And in the morning, he walks out completely untouched. Not a scratch, not a bite mark, nothing. The very same lions that could have killed him in an instant simply did not touch him. The king was overjoyed. He immediately ordered Daniel to be lifted out of the den, and the Bible says no wound was found on him because he trusted in his God. That line right there is everything. No wound was found on him because he trusted in his God. Not because he was lucky, not because the lions weren't hungry that night, because he trusted. His faith wasn't just something he talked about. It was something he lived, even when it could have cost him his life. And here's a detail people often skip over that makes the story even more powerful. The king then ordered that the men who had accused Daniel, along with their families, be thrown into the same den. And this time, before they even hit the ground, the lions attacked them instantly, crushing their bones before they reached the bottom of the pit. Why does that matter? Because it shows us the difference between walking into danger with faith and walking into danger without it. Daniel walked into that den trusting God, and he came out untouched. Those same lions, in the exact same conditions, tore apart men who had no faith to stand on. The lions were never the real variable in this story. What mattered was what Daniel carried into that pit with him. After this King Darius wrote a decree to every person in his entire kingdom, telling them that everyone must fear and respect the God of Daniel, because he is the living God, and he rescues and he saves. He performs signs and wonders in the heavens and on the earth. He is the one who rescued Daniel from the power of the lions. Think about the ripple effect of one man's faithfulness. Daniel didn't try to convert anyone. He didn't preach to the king or the officials. He simply refused to abandon his relationship with God, even when it looked like it would cost him everything. And because of that one decision to stay faithful under pressure, an entire kingdom was told to honor God. So what does this mean for you and me, sitting here today, thousands of years later, dealing with completely different problems? It means the lions in your life might not be actual lions. Your den might look like a difficult season at work, a relationship that's testing your patience, a habit you're trying to break, a dream you're scared to chase, or a moment where doing the right thing might cost you something. The pressure to compromise is still just as real today as it was for Daniel. Maybe you're being told that if you keep standing for what's right, you'll lose friends. Maybe you're scared that staying true to your values will cost you opportunities. Maybe it feels easier to just blend in, stop praying, stop trying, stop showing up as your true self just for now, just until things calm down. But Daniel's story tells us something different. It tells us that faithfulness isn't about the absence of danger. It's about what you do when the danger is real and staring you right in the face. It's choosing to keep your windows open, to keep doing what you know is right, even when you know people are watching and waiting for you to fail. You might not walk out of your struggle without a scratch like Daniel did. Sometimes the process is harder than that. But what this story promises is that God is with you in the pit. He was with Daniel in the dark, in the fear, in the uncertainty of that entire night. And He is with you too, in whatever den you're facing right now. The lions didn't disappear. The danger was completely real, but faith shut their mouths. So the next time life feels like it's throwing you into a pit you didn't choose, remember this story. Remember that staying true to what you believe, even under pressure, even when it's uncomfortable, even when everyone around you expects you to fold, is exactly what opens the door for something greater to happen in your life. Daniel didn't survive the lions because he was fearless. He survived because he trusted, even in the middle of his fear. And that's the kind of faith that can carry you through anything you're facing right now. If this story spoke to you, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one.